Hello and welcome class 9 to the new online classes. I'm your English teacher Mrs. Neelima. In the crippling pandemic, technology has emerged as a lifesaver. We have adopted online teaching methods, study from home methods. So, there is a lot of change after the corona crisis in the education. Our 9th class textbook, Beehive, prescribed by the CBSE, has a lesson which deals about schools of the future. It appears as though we have become futuristic. The author says that this type of schools may appear around May 2157, but I feel we are almost there in 2020 itself. So, let's see what that lesson has to say about the schools of the future. I know you all love school and now you are missing school because it has been almost 3 months since you have seen the school. More than the lesson, I know children, you will be missing the friends, right? Okay. So, before we start the lesson, you write a few sentences about what you like about your school and what you don't like about your school. So, shall we look into the lesson, the fun they had? Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17 May 2157, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, and then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it for the first time."
Gee, what a waste! When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away.
Same with mine. Where did you find it?
In my house.
He pointed without looking because he was busy reading.
What's it about?
School.
School. What's there to write about school? I hate school.
Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. He was a round little man with red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, and then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code. They made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. The inspector had smiled after he had finished and patted Maggie's head.
"It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory."
Margie was disappointed.
Why should anyone write about school?
Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Centuries ago.
Well, don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. Anyway, they had a teacher.
Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man.
How could a man be a teacher? A man isn't smart enough.
Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions.
A man isn't smart enough.
Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He knows almost as much as I, betcha.
I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me.
You don't know much, Margie. The teacher didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there.
And all the kids learn the same thing.
Sure, if they were the same age.
But my mother says a teacher had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches. And that each kid has to be taught differently.
Just the same. They didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
Margie, school!
Not yet, Mama.
Now. And it's probably time for Tommy too.
Can I read the book some more with you after school?
Maybe.
He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and was waiting for her. It was always at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up and it said, "Today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fraction. Please insert yesterday's homework in your proper slot." Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old school they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same thing so they could help one another with the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fractions half and 1/4, Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So how is the story, children? Did you like it? Are your feelings like Margie? See, here is a small activity, children. Calculate how many years and months ahead from now Margie's diary entry is. So that is a small activity for you. And now turn to page 11 of your textbook. There you have thinking about the language. Read 1 and apply it to Roman number 2, 3 and go through Roman number 2, the conditional clauses. When I meet you in the next class, I will give you the answers and explain about the clauses, children. Have a nice day. Hope you enjoyed the video.